not glad they are taping this? Because my eyes just opened, and I hate the thought of having missed everything you've already heard. So I will be following the tapes. So what we're doing now is introducing and saying why and how we got here. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, introducing.
Okay, so I'm Stephenie Swanston Chu from New York originally. Bronx side. Hey, Bronx, Brooklyn defector. Hey! And ended up in Atlanta some 20 years ago. My mother, you may have seen my mother on one of Bomani's videos. He asked her to come when they were talking, when they had the Sisters with Suitcases session, because my mother is an elder in the community, worked for 13 years with Dr. John Henry Clark. But even before then, she's always been an Africanist. Always. Anybody here know the name Daddy Grace?
Yes.
So Daddy Grace, Marcus Garvey. I knew about that in my child. She was doing that then. As a child, Princess Nori's age, my bedroom had magazine pictures of Patrice Lumumba, Jomo Kenyatta, the African landscape. All our sculptures were African sculptures. That was our mindset. We lived in America though. So, I went to school with American kids. By the time I got to junior high school, all of those children were going to Europe, to follow their roots. I thought that was awesome. I didn't necessarily feel Europe, My mother's response was to take me to Africa. Now, I said this on tape, so if you see it, it's a repeat. But my mother, as much as she is now an incredible resource of knowledge, information, history for the community, way back in 1972, one of the things she said to me was, we must remember to take a flashlight, because we don't know if when we're walking through the jungles, they'll want to put us in a pot. we forgive her that, because she's more than made up for that 200 times with what she's known, what she's shared, and what she's made available to the community. So here we go in 1972, off to Ghana. She booked 2 airplane tickets.
72?
1972.
How old were you?
21. I was 21. She booked 2 tickets and 3 nights in a hotel. No other information except the misinformation that she had gotten. But something pushed through that misinformation to make her say, I have to go, I want to go, I need to go, my daughter needs to go. We got there, we met on our first day. On our first day, we were staying in a hotel where there was a tour of teachers from California. They let us jump on their bus. In our goings around, we happened to meet a gentleman who said to us, a gentleman wearing the wrap, as they wrap it here, who said to us, what? From America? My sister's from America? There's no way you can stay in a hotel. I have to have you stay with the family. Please remember, we're from the Bronx. So my mother was like, put my child in a car with somebody I don't know going, me and my child, I don't know. Ancestors allowed her to do it. We ended up staying in the home of Hannah Kudjo. We didn't know her. Hannah Kudjo was one of Nkrumah's buddies.
Where?
Okay? Maybe never one you will hear. She was one of Nkrumah's buddies. This sister took care of us like we were her long lost friends. In fact, as they were negotiating our stay, they're speaking in their language. And he's saying something and she's like, no. He's speaking, she's like, no. And every time she did that, my mother, you don't need to stay here. I don't need to be being so that I could get up and go. I'm not having anybody. If you don't want me, what she was saying was, no, there's no way I could charge my sister for staying here. There's no way I could take any money for my sister staying here. No. It's not going to be like that.
The money was trying to charge.
Yeah, the man was trying to, she's like, no. We were there for 5 weeks. 5 weeks. She charged us nothing. She charged us nothing. She took in children from around the country. People would send her their children for her to educate. So the house had 12 children, all ages. You know, absolutely as precious as the ones at Trinity Home. Sweet, obedient. In the morning, they come and knock on our door. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Or curtain. Our curtain. And then they say, knocking, in order to be let in. Knocking. And they would come and carry our bags, carry our pocketbooks, bring us breakfast. I mean, I had never been served like that before. Never. One of the things I like to tell is we're going up and down now, trying to figure out our way around Accra. We're asking, where do we go? How do we get there? And we're just making our way. And where we were, we traveled along Independence Road very often. And as we traveled along Independence Road, there was this one humongous compound that looked to us so big in perspective to what we knew that we were calling it McDonald's. It had some arches. We were calling it McDonald's. Like, look, McDonald's. You know, meaning basically that someone was trying to be so ostentatious that they made something look like McDonald's. They there didn't know what McDonald's was. They were just being short-sighted, small-minded Americans. We went and we were joking in our room about McDonald's, and Hannah came in and said, what are you guys talking about? And so we cleaned it up and said, oh, we're just talking about this lovely house we saw on Independence Road. She says, oh, that's my brother's home. Oh. Would you like to go? So we went, he invited us to dinner. More riches than I had ever seen since, or then or since, for a black family. He had a fleet of fishing trawlers that supplied tuna to Starkiss. So we went to dinner. He had, there's too much to tell, a wing for the servants, a wing for the boys, a wing for the girl children, a wing for the boy children, a chapel, a school. His garage had the 8 cars in it. He says, oh, see, I even have American cars. I have a Lincoln Continental over here. The Benz's, Jaguar, so-and-so. Eyes are popping. He had a pool. He had a beach on his property. We enjoyed ourselves fabulously. They were humble people, led us everywhere. We saw their dressing room. We saw the safe in the dressing room. We saw everything. And at the end of the night, he says to me, we have to invite you to our home festival. Remember when Brother Kobe was telling us about the Homo Festival? He says his home village was Busia Beach. It was on Busia, in Busia Beach. And he invited us to the Homo War Festival. He had a bus, a small bus, maybe 12 people. We got on this bus to go to the village. Many things we saw, but I'll tell you, at one point there was a gentleman who flagged us down to catch a ride. It was the company bus. Hello? But the driver said, no, sir, this is not a company bus. This is a private thing right now. We're using it as a private bus. But the man kept on pushing and pointing in the bus and talking. And what he was saying was he was pointing at my mother and saying, no, that's my countrywoman. Wherever she's going, I could go as far as she's going. I'll get closer to where I am. When they opened the bus and he came in through the back, his outline silhouetted in the sunlight. So his features, no features, I couldn't see his face, but I could see his outline. He looked for the world like my grandfather. So much that when we took this one picture back and we're showing my aunts, they're like, hey, wait. showing us pictures of Africa. I said, well, but that's granddaddy. That's granddaddy. The way he held his head, the breadth of his shoulders, everything was the same. They were like, that's granddaddy. No, that's not granddaddy. That's how much. We get to the village. I had on a dress I made out of African print. My mother's African attire was a lovely polyester paisley skirt and a black top, but she considered herself dressed in African clothes. When we got down, people kept on approaching her to call her Awujani. Call her Awujani and start a conversation. Awujani! And my mother's like, oh. And then get more and more heated. Awujani! And they were saying, wait, you go away, you come back, dressed like a European, you don't want to talk your language? What is up? What? And then Hannah had to say, no, I'm sorry, this is not Awujani. And they wouldn't believe her. They're talking to each other, but, you know. And finally the man said to her, wait, in English, how many languages do you speak? She said, English. He said, oh, okay, that's not Awujani. So, and we saw lovely things, and rituals, and festivals. That evening at the celebration on the beach, walking around, I bumped right into a young man. I look up at his face, and his face looked so much like my mother's. I was startled. I knew if at that point they separated children according to their parents, they would have put him with my mother, and I would have been standing there alone. I brought him. I said, please, can I introduce you to my mother? He walks up to her. He said, oh, and then, oh, I'm sorry. This was Awujani's son. Okay? I bumped into Awujani's son. And he walked up. He said, oh, mommy, you look too much like my mother. You look too much like my mother. From that and every other face in my family I saw in that village and on the road, there is no way I could doubt that my family is God and came from there. There is no way. So, I mean, that was the very first trip. That was the very first trip. Now, what happened to me was, I had a new camera. I took 13 rolls of film. I saw rites of passage in the street. Young women dancing with beads, doing the rituals. I saw funerals with caskets made in the shapes of the profession of the deceased. I saw the kind of conflict between the wife's family and the husband's family, because matrilineal descent determined where that wealth was going. And because it's matrilineal descent, all of his assets go to his sister's children. Okay? Because that's a bloodline that you can actually trace. Okay? Or as we know it, mama's baby, daddy's maybe.
Hey, what? Say it again.
Mama's baby, daddy's maybe. So it would trace like that. Now, of course, the wife's children's assets come from her brethren, her brothers. But you know, I'm sure you live with a man, you have babies, and then what? You know, nothing. So, yeah. So we had, because I took 13 rolls of film, I saw many incredible, wonderful things. I have those memories stored in my eyes. I saw young girls with a black line under their eye. And I was like, you know, several, not just one, several, they'd have a black line under their eye. And I asked, is this a playmaker? Is this, you know, what are they doing? They said it's a thing, if I remember correctly, that allows them to see spiritual things. So many things. I got back home, not one frame of one roll of film came out. Not one. Not one. But what it did for me, wait, I'm the next oldest, but so I'll say it anyway. I said, oh, hell no. It's like, oh, hell no, I'm not standing for that. I went right back the next year with 11 other young women from Fashion Institute of Technology. And so that was a different trip. That was a trip where we did fashion shows and TV show and hung with kings and hung with chiefs and were feted and squired around and had them come send their cars to tour us around and I just had lovely, wonderful, we called it High Life, but that was the name of the music at the time. High Life. High Life. Yes. We called it High Life. So it has been the most, all right, so that was number 2. When my daughter was in 8th grade, she went to Kipway's Academy.
ATL!
Yay, Kipway's! And their 8th grade trip was to Ghana. They charged me $350 to send my daughter to Ghana.
Wow. In day.
So my intent was to follow them, to take her on to her father's land of Senegal. So I met them there. Of course, Senegal didn't happen because it was more expensive to go from Ghana to Senegal than it was for me to come back home and take her from New York, from Atlanta to Senegal. But that trip was organized by a brother who made rituals at every stop. Rituals at the dungeons, slave dungeons, rituals at Asim Manso, we are going to go there. And so the depth, the weight, the connection, the spiritual memory, it reinvigorated, was just off the chain. So, what else?
Wow. Clap now because Stephenie's on the roll. It's not queen. It's about 3 and 4 queens.
So what I'm doing here now is that I retired at the end of March. And I announced it probably 6 weeks prior to that. And as soon as I announced it, I found out about a fashion sourcing trip. I'm a fashion designer, not by profession, by talent. I've done things, I made a dress that sent me to Brazil, and so I'm very interested in this. The fashion sourcing trip was before the end of March. I couldn't make it. I was like, disappointed. It was supposed to connect designers with sources, with producers, with textiles, I couldn't make it. So now, then I was very upset, and then I called Sass, and she says, we're going on the 27th, so here I am. And my purpose is to gain the resources necessary to reproduce a small but thriving design business in Atlanta. I did take Chinese 2 years ago, and during that course, I learned how easy it was for someone to do this in China. They made it very easy. They'll tell you how to go, where to go, who to talk to, hook you up with organizations who will help you. Do the same thing in China. But I had in 2007 seen that the indigenous textile industry was being killed by cheap Chinese knockoffs. Cheap Chinese knockoffs of African fabric that were being imported here. And so undercut the actual fabric that Africans were making. So I was determined not to do that. I mean, I could have done that, but Africans need jobs too, don't they?
Yes.
Africans need money for their resources, don't they? They need support of their textile industry, don't they? So I figured if it's going to be more expensive, that's fine. But I wanted to do that here. So I'm here searching for those same kind of resources to set up some kind of trade. In Atlanta right now, all the vendors from Africa, Senegalese vendors, Ghanaian vendors, are on this mission to stop the Chinese exploiting any more African resources. Okay? They were like, shop Africa, not just Africa lookalike, but shop Africa, genuine, authentic African products. So that's my mission. Just to make that channel between Africa and Afro-Americans, African America, a bigger channel that we can help. Like the brother told me, why let the Chinese and the Europeans come in? Help them thrive. So that's the mission I'm on.
Yeah. I'm so glad Stephenie's here. We've been rolling together for a long time. Her mother is my mother, Mama Anna Swanston, Dr. John Henry Clark's secretary for all those years. She's 90 years young now. She just finished my income tax, and she's writing a book now. What's the title, Stephenie?
This is the third book, and it's called The Neglected Pages of African History.
And I'll tell you, folks.
Out already?
No, not yet.
It's not out yet, but we're all gonna have each other link ups information. One of the first things I asked Stephenie, I was like, "Did you bring some of your mama's books?" Yeah, she's written her life story, which is quite extraordinary. She's written Dr. John Henry Clark's autobiography, hardback and paperback. It's available. We all know who Dr. John Henry Clark is, right? If you don't, it's okay, but he's the father. Hello, let me see that baby. Dr. John Henry Clark, Christopher Columbus, and the African Holocaust, and slavery and the rise of European capitalism. Sister Natalie's reading this on the plane. We were getting it in on the plane, and this is by Dr. John Henry Clark, and the foreword is by Leonard Jeffries, and Edward Scobie did the preface. So, yeah, Mama Anna Swanston. I'm going to say this one little thing, and then we're going to keep it moving. So I'm in Atlanta, and I love being with Mama Anna and sitting at the feet of the elders, because that's how we get trained and develop. And Mama Anna and Stephenie and I, we went to the Million Woman March together. That was about 20 years ago in Philly, and Winnie Mandela was there. We rode up. I drove 12 hours with him. I was driving at the time. However, it was good to know that we have Mama Anna too. She was the one who I called up, and I said, "Mama Anna, I feel the ancestors are calling me to Kemet." And she said, it was on the first of the year, I went to Dr. Asa Hilliard's home, and I just came back saying, "I'm going to Kemet." She says, "If you hear, like my mother, obey." And she says, "I don't care if you have to sell your firstborn. Get there." And I got there. I didn't sell my firstborn, but I rearranged my life. I got to Kemet, and you know it changed your life. So thank you, Stephenie. You know Mama Anna. Oh, good. Yeah. A number of dots are going to be connected. That's why the fashion piece, a lot of fashionistas. Only thing I got a degree in is fashion merchandising and business. I design too. I do. I love it. And but either way, we're going to keep it moving. Sleep. You ready? Yes. That's okay. We're going to go right. You ready? A boy.